like I said, I have this project on 2 folders or 2 different what you call it, files, right? Although this seems to be gone. I wonder if I have
that so you can put it all together for your cover page.
Yeah, and the animation that we're doing. So well, I might have to redo it. Anyway, I'll just use, let's not save that. I might have turned off some of the layers anyway. I'm just going to start with this one. So I need all this to be in position for the rest of the animation, right? So as far as moving stuff around, I already have the gear and the pinion, right? The pinion and the rack, I should say, in the correct position for, they're the correct distance apart from each other. So that's good. I'll put the handle inside the, through the hole here, and the column would be around that. This pin needs to be rotated and placed into position, as well as having the the end cap of the rack, so it can have the whatever that thing's called, whatever the end of that cap is called. I'll run this. Seems like, yeah. Hey. Where's the chapter 15? Okay, so all right, so I have it almost all assembled. Just moving the parts together. I'm just going to use this as an example to show what all this was doing. I want this outside radius, this center to be centered on there, and that way the head of the fastener, or actually that's supposed to be countersunk, huh? So let's move it one more time from that center to this center. So now the head is countersunk.
Are we supposed to do the threads?
No, I just did for fun. But we don't have to. So I have the pin. So I have all the parts here that I need, and they're in position. Let's say we're at this point. So now what I want to do is export each one of these individually, because if I do them all together, then I have to, I think I can explode them in Blender, but well, that may be easier, I guess. Let's just see how that works. So I'm going to select all these, all the assembly. Although I didn't put these fasteners in here. For some reason, I don't have these fasteners, so I get that part. Okay, so I have them all selected, and I can just go to and export them from the application menu to other formats. Blender takes a lot of different formats, but STL is probably one of the easier ones. In fact, that's what I'm going to use. So, call it So there are 9 parts here, and I think that's correct, minus those screws that I left out. Okay, so once they're exported, let's see what Blender thinks of them, and see how easy it is to break those apart. I'm not remembering how exactly to do that, but we'll look at it. So we have Blender 2.91, I think, 2.92 maybe. No, 2.91. Actually, I think your computers are 2.92, but shouldn't be any huge differences that'll get us in the way here. I'm going to launch Blender, and then we'll import those STL files into Blender and then see what we can do with these parts. There's 3 main functions that I want to emphasize in Blender. AutoCAD can do some of them, but it can't really do the animation very well at all, I guess. So one of the things is to, well, animate it. Just animate the assembly and maybe the operation of the assembly, as well as, so I think I'm just going to keep the regular general file. What you're going to get here is a cube, which I'm going to delete promptly, a camera, which I'll leave there, and a lamp, right, a light source. So I'll leave those there, and I'm going to import. But sorry, was there a question though? All right, so to import them, I'm going to go to File and Import and STL. It's a good file format for 3D printing, as we've talked about before. I don't know what this computer's doing, but it's kind of slow. Shouldn't be. Is it scanning or something? Okay, so now I just have to find where it is. Oh, maybe I should save it, huh?
Yeah, Mr. Stevie, are you recording this one?
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so here's the entire assembly. It's lying on its side. That could be, I wonder why. That's a little odd. Anyway, not too hard to rotate, so I'm just going to hit the R button, and that just does a free rotate. But what again, just like in AutoCAD, the color of the axes indicate the labeling of the axis, right? So XYZ and RGB are what do you call it, parallels or whatever. So I want to rotate it actually about 90 degrees, about the red, which would be X axis. So I'm going to hit X. And so once I hit X, I can see that it's only rotating about that X axis, right? And then I'll just type in 90 here. And it might be upside down, but it went. Okay. And as far as navigating, it navigates the same way as AutoCAD, except it's inverted only in one respect. So I can roll my mouse wheel to zoom, and I can pivot or use my middle mouse wheel as a button to orbit or arc rotate. And then if I hold the shift, it pans, right? The middle mouse wheel. So that's the only difference, really. The other thing I want to point out here is if I look at how AutoCAD imported or exported the file, if I get kind of close in here, I can see that it does a pretty coarse surface interpolation, right? So I can see the faceted edges, right? So maybe I could do better. So I'm going to do one other thing. So I'm going to delete that, and we'll go back to AutoCAD. And I'm just going to type in facet res, which is short for facet resolution, right? And right now it's at 0.5. I think you can put it all the way to 10, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put it at 10. So it's just a system variable, right? The lower the number, the more coarse it is, but the faster it will act, right? Okay, so again, I'll select everything. I wonder why that doesn't get selected. Okay, and I'll go back to export, other formats, STL, and I'm going to overwrite that because that was the low res version. And now it's unioning these together, which, yeah, that's probably not what I want, but we can maybe use Blender to fix that. And we're going to import it again. Something's up with the file system here. Shouldn't take this long. It's got to be our server switches that aren't working right. Or maybe it's all the Bitcoin reminding. Just kidding. It doesn't take networks anyway that much. Anyway. Okay, so R and then X and then 90, right? So if I zoom in here, I can see that it's a finer resolution, not that much finer, but it's better. It's about as good as AutoCAD can do, right? Which is probably okay.
Did you say you union that all together, or are they still separate?
They're unioned, right? AutoCAD, I didn't do it, but AutoCAD did when you export it. If you select everything and export it. But if I hit the tab key, this goes into what Blender considers edit mode. So actually up in so here's some interface kinds of things to point out, I guess, in Blender. Is right now, you can use the tab key to toggle between edit mode and object mode. Object mode is just where you can rotate the object or whatever, right? Edit mode allows you to get to sub-objects, kind of like in AutoCAD where you have the filters, where you have vertex and edge and face and things like that. So in edit mode, I can see some edges and things like that, but I can also pick what I want to edit, right? So I think by default it's on vertex, but if I want to yeah, well, I'm kind of hoping I could get to like some sort of element mode. Yeah, all I have, so this is not great. This would be hard to select out. Vertex might be the easiest one anyway. So I have vertex, I have edge, and I have face mode. So if I am on face mode, I can select the face and extrude a face, but those are all triangulated. And so, yeah, that would be very difficult to manipulate and to rotate the individual objects and things like that. So, so probably not a great idea. I might be able to put, I'll try one more thing, I guess. So with this object, I can go to the wrench on the right. So I have different categories of properties. So I have world properties as opposed to object properties, as opposed to modifier properties. So under modifiers, I can modify this object, which is kind of what I want to do, but I don't know if there's a good one in here. There's edge split, but that's not going to help me much. I was hoping I could do something on the decimate comes close, but not really, because all that does is simplify faces, really. Kind of want to do some sort of explode or something into its individual elements or parts, but it doesn't look like I can do that. There may be one, but I'm not thinking of it. So, yeah. So not so great. So I'm going to delete it one more time and go back to AutoCAD and just do it one at a time, right? There's only 9 parts here, so that's okay. I'll start with a column and do the same thing, right? So I'll just do one and then we'll pause the video and get it all set up and put it in Blender here. So export other formats, STL, and this time I'm going to call it column. It's all going in an ArborPress directory or folder anyway, so I can just name their parts and then I'll know what that is. So I'm going to pause here and get them all going and then we'll. Okay, so I've just set some keyframes. Forgot to record, so sorry about that, but I have this thing moving. So from frame 120 to 160, it's I have the rack pad and the rack moving together to press down on something, right? In the meantime, I want this and the gear. I don't have the gear in there, but I'll use this as an example. I want that to rotate, right? So I have to set a keyframe for at this time. So I just hit I and location, rotation, scale. There we go. And at the end here, well, I'm just going to push that in. Well, not just that. And I want to rotate, so I'm going to scroll over to, I want that to rotate as much as that moves down, right? So maybe to frame 160, and then I'll rotate this thing. So R, and I'm going to rotate it about the Y-axis. Oh, yeah, see its midpoint there? It's going to rotate about that, and that's not going to be good. So hit escape. I need to move that center point, so I think I can just right-click and set origin to geometry, origin to geometry. Yeah, there. And then rotate about the Y. And now I can rotate it maybe, I don't know, 270? Let's see what that does. And then I hit I. And location, rotation, scale. Okay, so now. Oh, because oh yeah, I got it. The origin, that little orange dot is the origin of the part. It's yeah, I animated the origin moving to the part too, so it's still gonna rotate about its thing. So in this case, can I delete that keyframe? Delete keyframes here. Delete keyframes. I'm going to even take this one out. Okay, and I'll move it back up into position. So GZ. Yeah, see, for some reason, GX. Okay, let's say that's in the right position. So now at frame 120, I want to insert a keyframe, and then at 160, I want to rotate it, and then yeah, R, Y, and then 270, I guess. Let's see what that does. And then I, rotation, location, scale. There we go. Not bad, not too bad, I guess. And I would scale that out a little bit to make that rotation look like it was actually moving the rack.
The ratio.
Yeah, keep the proportion nice there. Yeah.
Is there a way to figure out the ratio?
Sure. You can just take the pitch diameter, look at its circumference, and one rotation will move that circumference at the pitch, right? So if the rack's moving 1 inch and the circumference is 5 inches, then 1/5 of a rotation will get you 1 inch of
Okay.
Yeah. So nice. Good question.
Okay, cool.
All right. So we'll stop there, but that's what we're going to do. And then we'll talk about materials, make it look good, and lighting and stuff next time. So.